बहुत दफ़ा मेरे साथ ये हुआ है कि जिस चीज़ के ऊपर दूसरे हमारे डायरेक्टरेट्स या ब्रांचेस 2-2 महीने से रिसर्च कर रहे होते हैं, दे वुड पिक अप द इंटरकॉम एंड आस्क मी, आपका क्या ख्याल है, शैल वी गो हेड विद दिस, एंड आई वुड ऑलवेज से 10 सेकंड देते हैं मुझे आप इस पे ओपिनियन, एंड इट जनरली अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह टर्न्ड आउट राइट. So I don't know whether I can respond to your questions. I have some more things with your indulgence to say also, very, very short things. But deterrence regime, one peculiar thing that happened this time was that despite the fact that whenever Pakistan and India have come into these fragile situations of conflict, Pakistan has been, I've written this, so I'm on record on this, and Pakistan has been holding the thread of stability very, very firmly. And this happened in Balakot. This could have easily turned, and we exercised restraint. And I keep reminding everyone that restraint and responsibility have always been our two pillars. But this particular conflict is somewhat different than whatever you experienced earlier. And my sense is that while you can never ignore the presence of the nuclear weapons on either side, it did not come into a very stark play of possibility, because Pakistan displayed that it could easily carry the day with its conventional capability. So this was a kind of a new normal that we have set, despite the fact that usse pehle bhi we were the ones who were actually holding on to this and not letting it happen. This kind of fragile relationship has been ever since 1998. It is for several years, but this time I think it was different. It remains to be seen if it can be kept in this way for any future situation. And I've written on this that while the air battle has been won, the war is still on, and it's going to happen. And I think largely the opinion around the table has been similar. What does happen is this possibility of miscalculation that could have happened. Even in situation, this is South Asia is so peculiar. You have very low strategic warning time, common borders. The Cold War, if you think of that, had something like 28 minutes or 32 minutes for the ICBMs to get launched. The doctrines were launch and warning kind of hair trigger alerts. Despite our problems, we haven't had, at least before the Modi time, such significantly difficult situations, in which there wasn't enough time to play. But now, when you have missiles which are supposedly also capable of nuclear weapons, and then they get used in this war, it was again Pakistan's restraint that did not assume that it could have been nuclear, and we decided to absorb those missiles and came to know that while the BrahMos were used, there was this possibility that existed. The question is, the possibility of miscalculation can happen, and that's the fragility that we have to guard against. And Azhar Sahab and Cheema Sahab, if you allow me, while I was listening to this, I want to make some very, very quick points on some general things that have been said. And I, of course, don't want to repeat whatever has been said. We do know that, what the Air Force did, and I think it wasn't only the meticulous planning that started years earlier, but also the tactics, the strategy, and actually the equipment, but also the synergy, which was so significantly different, the synergy amongst the armed forces. I've had an opportunity to talk to some army officers who were in the harm's way around the LOC, and each one of them, they found out I have an Air Force background, walked up to me just to say thank you to the Air Force, and I said I'll faithfully convey this. So this synergy has helped us because we were all together in that. So that's one point that I want to make. And the other point is that while it has been said earlier, I want to repeat this: the future warfare is going to be way different, and way different. And there are 4 or 5 things that, if you relate it with the issues of emerging technologies, accuracy, disruption, the human in the loop or not, also the regulation. These are the kind of things which will determine where will the future wars happen. And also two more things that I want to say. The experiences of the recent wars and the use of artificial intelligence by Israel and also by India to some extent are the lessons drawn. And I've said this earlier, and I'm happy to say this again, that India in this situation was like Alice in Wonderland. Through the looking glass, it sees itself as a major superpower that has a lot of sophisticated military equipment, or the Israeli technology that it has, and so on and so forth. And that arrogance also contributed to the way what happened in this war. But those technologies that Israel has used against Hamas or against Iran are the kind of technologies that are becoming part of what can happen in the future, and we need to understand those mechanics. And I refer you to 3 quick words: the Gospel Program, the Lavender Project, and Where's Daddy? These 3 were the ones that were used against Hamas. These are the this is the same Where's Daddy kind of a program which has been used against the Iranian military commanders. Finding those patterns, and which also relates with what Kaleem said about, within the hybrid situation, you need to look around and see what is happening around you, because insiders' threat is what they will be looking for. What the Ukrainians did in Russia by going on the ground, these are the kind of problems that you must think of, and these can happen in the future. And I think my final one-liner will be that the new normal is that technology will now continue to drive the doctrines in the foreseeable future. Thank you.